Greg. You wish for a little more action?
I do wish for more action, Mike.
As you wish, Greg. Let's party! Greg, we're just getting started.
Now this is nice.
You got 2 wishes left.
Boxing King Media in association with the Riyadh season. Delighted to be joined by Hall of Fame promoter Mr. Frank Warren in Saudi Arabia. Frank, I'm just trying to think, have you been to Saudi before?
First time.
First impressions?
Oh, I love it. I mean, the people have been really welcoming. It's hot, that's for sure, but it's going to be hotter on Saturday night.
It definitely is. Have you seen the plans for the stadium? Have you seen like the city and the kind of things they've got going on here for like future business leaders and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, this Riyadh season is a absolute cultural event, and it's a massive event in not just in the Middle East, around the world now. I mean, there's events and bands and sporting events from all over the world coming here. This is a destination now. This is a massive destination.
Definitely is. We're going to talk more about the Fury and Ngannou fight tomorrow in the press conference. But one of the things I wanted to ask you is, obviously, we're here. It's a momentous occasion. The Saudis are putting on this crossover fight. With regards to big names in boxing, obviously, in your opinion, I'm assuming you're going to say Tyson is the biggest name in boxing. But who do you think is behind him, like in second and third?
I think Canelo. I think it's just, look, there's not a lot in it, and it's not a peeing contest. I just believe Tyson, what's happened with him over the last few years, especially with that Netflix series. In the UK, it's the highest rating I've ever had for a series in the UK. It's gone big around the world. He's had books sell. He's sold 3 books that have gone to #1 in the bestseller list. He's just become a massive personality and star around the world. And as is proven by opening up the Riyadh Festival, this is a massive event. Massive event.
I think one of the things that I think could come from this, if Tyson stops him in a few rounds, there's potentially going to be a backlash. If it goes to points, there's going to be a backlash. What do you think is like the middle ground?
I just think it's going to be exciting while it lasts. I don't think it's going to be a long fight. I think Tyson. We know what Tyson does in a boxing event. We don't know what this guy does. We do know he's a big puncher. I've watched a lot of his fights now on UFC, and he's very competitive. So what is he going to do? He's not going to outbox Tyson. I can't see him doing that. So he's got to put Tyson out his stride. He's got to rough him up. He's got to try and land his bombs. And that's what he'll try and do. And Tyson, these last few fights, what he's done, certainly his last 3 or 4 fights, he stood his ground, planted his feet and let his bombs go. As you've seen that last fight, what he did with Deontay Wilder. He was on the floor twice and had to get up. That's what he's been doing. So I think this is going to be something exciting whilst it lasts. I think it'll be a shootout, and I hope and I believe that Tyson will be the man standing.
Where do you think the card stands with some of the cards we've seen this year? There's been some great shows on. Obviously, you've got 4 or 5 big heavyweight fights on. Where does it stand with the shows this year so far?
How many heavyweight type fights are on there? They're all competitive and quality fights. All of them are good. I love the British and Commonwealth heavyweight title fight. That's a cracking fight. 2 undefeated youngsters. It's going to be interesting, that one, to say the least. And then we've got some of the best heavyweights in the world also fighting on the card.
With regards to making that fight for the British title, I know initially he said it wouldn't be. What kind of loopholes did you have to cross to get that over the line?
There was no loopholes. It was just a general discussion, and everybody became, with what we was putting forward as our case, they listened to it and they agreed with it, and that says a lot about the board being open and listening to what goes on and what's best for the boxers. And it was best for the boxers that it happens, because the boxers are on a massive platform and they're earning probably 3-4 times the amount of money they would get for this title if it was going on in the UK for the same fight.
Yeah, fair comments. And talking about the board and this particular event, and I saw Eddie Hearn yesterday said that he compared the sanctioning of the Fury and Ngannou fight to Conor Benn versus Eubank, and he said he was shocked that they sanctioned this as a British Boxing Board licensed fight with a 34-0 best heavyweight versus somebody making the debut, and they wouldn't sanction Ben Eubank. Just your views and opinions on what he said.
Well, the difference between Ben and Eubank is that one of them was found to have had 2 failed drug tests and hasn't explained to the Border Control or UCAD how it got in his system. There's been no hearing for it, so how can they allow him to fight? It's just all he's doing all the time is just put, it's like smoke and mirrors. Forget about whether they're what they're doing with our fight. It's easy to get his fight on. If his man's innocent, then go and have the hearing, prove his innocence, and they get their fight on. It won't be an issue. Mind you, having said that, one of them's coming up 2 weights, and he didn't look too good losing that weight, did he? The Eubank, the struggle he had against Smith in the fight before he turned it round. That shows you how dangerous it is.
And obviously the Usyk fight is now signed, it's official, but a lot of people before the fight was signed, they were saying Tyson's ducking him, he should be ashamed that he's not fighting him, he's looking for easy paydays. That was a narrative pushed by certain people in the media. Your views on opinions on them? I'm talking about TALKSPORT mainly because obviously it's come back with a backlash.
They got it terribly wrong because that was never the case. Tyson signed up for the fight last year to take place last December. It didn't take place because Usyk was injured. They were going to reschedule it for February and they couldn't put it on because they said the venue hadn't been constructed. Then they were going to run it on April 29th. Same thing happened. Then the contracts expired between Skills Challenge and Usyk, and we thought we had the fight done for UK. They agreed to terms. Then they went back and signed with Skills Challenge for them to do the fight this December here in Saudi. But what had happened was they couldn't deliver that either. They kept saying we was going to get an offer. We never got an offer. In the meantime, we made this fight with His Excellency for the Riyadh Festival, and subsequently the contracts expired between Skills Challenge and Usyk, and now that fight's been made. And that's the truth of it. Tyson's never ducked anybody.
And obviously because of that, them comments, obviously I spoke to Shane Fury yesterday and he disclosed that, they've banned TALKSPORT from this event and they wouldn't allow them to take part in any future Fury fights. Do you think they've got a valid argument there? Because the TALKSPORT argument is that they were just reporting on what potentially may have been happening at the time, but obviously without the full facts.
I hear what he says and I understand, and all of it. I mean, I had a terrible argument on there on a Saturday night on their show because the same thing was being said, and like I said to him, he said, it was said that it was an opinion. I think it was Adam Cattrall was saying at the time it's an opinion, and a couple of the other guys, I think Simon said the same thing. I said it might be an opinion, but it's not an informed opinion. What you're doing, you're taking sides. You are not speaking of what you're not telling the listeners what the facts are, and that was basically the problem. I'm hoping we can build some bridges and repair that relationship because I got a lot. We've done a lot of stuff with TALKSPORT and we like working with them, but in this particular instance, it's a situation where it's left a lot of bad taste in Tyson's camp's mouths. And
the last thing, I just want an update on these 3 heavyweights. In fact, 2. What's the latest on Zhang? When are you going to get him out next? Because I know he's signed to Queensbury now, and also Joe Joyce. What's the latest on him?
We're working on that at the moment. I'm hoping we get him out fairly soon. I'd like to get him out in the next 2 to 3 months.
Have you got a potential opponent for Zhang?
We're looking at a couple, but I don't want to go into that at the moment. But we are looking at a couple.
Okay, but one question: would that be in the UK or potentially abroad?
Again, we're not sure yet. We're not sure.
You're teasing us there. And the
I'm being evasive. We're just not sure yet.
You're getting us excited. Last thing I want to ask you, Frankie, obviously you've been in boxing a long, long time. You've got so many experiences and crazy nights. Tell me a story about one of your big nights that you can probably compare to similar to this, where you've had the same sort of excitement.
Blimey, I've been blessed with a lot of the fights I'm involved with. Probably one of the biggest ones was in Vegas when Mike Tyson fought Frank Bruno. That had a big buzz about it, big British presence there from people who flew over to watch the fight, a real buzz about it. But this, I've got to be honest with you, I'm not talking about as a fight, I'm talking about as an event. This event is unbelievable. The buzz about it and the marketing of it has been phenomenal. I mean, everywhere you go. I was in London last week, Piccadilly Circus, it's on on the big billboard flashing round, and you look at all the cabs going past they've been wrapped with the fight, but same with the buses. It's huge, and that's happening all around the world. In Vegas, in the dome or bubble, whatever they call it, Times Square, all around the world. This is happening. This is a massive event, and some of those promos are phenomenal. The one where the two guys were hitting walls and whatever, and it was shaking the house down. Within 2 days, 152 million hits. That is just something phenomenal.
Definitely is, Mr. Warren. Thank you. I appreciate your time, and I'll catch you soon.
Is that right?